Okay, and we are live now. We'll wait for a few people to come on. Okay. Good evening, everybody. We are here to discuss the case of the Millbrook twins, Dannette and Jeannette Milbrook. They went missing 34 years ago from Augusta, Georgia, on March 18th, 1990. Their disappearance has been a mystery that has stood for 34 years. Today, I'm here to speak with the sister of Dannette and Jeannette, Shanta Sturgis. Shanta, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. So Shantae, from reading, we know your sisters have been missing for almost 34 years. What actually happened and the day that they went missing? They went missing on March 18th, 1990. How did that day start off for you and your family, and how did we get to where we are now?
Okay, so that morning we went to church.
Okay.
Um at, we was at church that day. My the pastor of the church basically gave my mom some money for us to eat lunch that day.
Okay.
And after we left church, we came home. Um my mom sent them to church's chicken. And when they came back from church's chicken, we all was sitting down eating and we was talking about going to school. So the school that they originally would have been going to would have been Joseph High School.
Okay.
But because we hadn't been too long moved to the area that we were staying at, they were still going to out of zone school, which was Lucy Lane High School.
This Lady High School was the high school the girls were going to, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically my mom didn't have any money, of course, for us to eat lunch for that day, nor did she have any money for them to be able to catch the school, well, not the school bus, but the city bus back and forth. So she told them to call my goddad. My goddad told them that he would give them some money, to catch the school bus. I mean, the city bus back and forth to school for that week.
Okay.
And they left the house and basically they made it to his house. And after they left his house is where everything went left, because instead of them coming back home, they was going to different family members' houses, where they went to two different family members' houses
Mm-hmm.
to ask them to walk home with them. One of them was my cousin Juanita. The other
Okay.
one was my older sister, AC Hander. And so basically, um, they they made it to Juanita's house. Her mom wouldn't
Okay.
let them go with them. So they left Juanita's house and went to my older sister's house. My older sister said when they came there, they asked her, she said that she couldn't walk home with them, which we are, that she hadn't been too long, had her oldest son at that time. So of course she then, wasn't up to walking with them. So it had to be probably like maybe 4:30 ish, almost 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was getting late, basically. And they left the house around maybe 2 or almost 2.
Okay.
So in between that time, I guess my mom started getting worried that they hadn't made it back home, because we don't walk that area before. So I guess she knew, the time frame, how long it would have took for them to get back home. So she started calling around to other people, like my sister and my goddad, asked him, did they make it to his house? And he told her, yeah. And then when she called my older sister, this is how we knew to go to the pump and shop store, because my sister said, yes, they came over here, Mom, and they left my house walking like they was going towards the pump and shop. So by us already living by the pump and shop years ago, years prior to us moving to where we live, we already knew some of the attendants that work in the store. So the um the attendant, basically by the time we walked down there, she told my mom that they did come in the store, that what they brought, she said they didn't seem like they was worried about anything, nothing. The only thing she know is they brought what they brought. After they left the register, she had to ring up somebody else, and she said basically they was gone just like that. She don't know if they got in the car with somebody. She don't know if they went left, right, or what. And from that point on, as we know, she's the last person that seen them, and nobody seen them since.
Wow. So I got a question. By them asking people to walk them home, do you think they was a little worried?
I think so,
They just didn't want to let
because
on, right?
if they wasn't worried walking down there, and they didn't need nobody else. Because I also asked them to walk with them, even though I was 12 years old back then. I did ask to go, and they told me no. They told me that they was coming right back after they left my goddad house, and basically, so I think something happened in between there, um, and that's the reason why they was going around asking people to walk them back home or whatever. I'm not sure, and I guess we'll never know what was the purpose of them going, because we don't know where they at still to this day.
Right. And I remember before when we spoke before, the first time they got home, they said a white van was following them, right?
Yes, Jeanette told my mom that when they left churches that they thought a white van was following them. Of course, my mom, she went to the door and she looked out, but we didn't see a white van, you know. So basically, we don't know if the van was actually following them, or if the van was going the same way they was going and they thought the van was following. We just don't know. We just know what they said.
Right. So that area from the pumping shop, right? When they
Hmm.
come, okay, when they said they walked back from the pumping shop, now that area straight, narrow, is the alley there? What's right there?
Um, okay, if they had you talking about like them leaving from where we were staying at, going there?
No, leaving from the pumping shop. Like, because she
Okay,
said,
leaving
yeah.
from the pump shop, it is an alley right behind the pump shop.
So do you think something could have happened behind that, or you just don't know?
I mean, it could have,
Right.
because when we was living in that area, I do know sometime before, okay, we stayed in two different houses when we stayed on 12th Street.
Okay.
So the first house that we stayed in that was by the pump shop, my older sister left home to, I guess she was going to hang out with friends or whatever, I'm not sure, but I know she was sexually assaulted in that same alley.
Oh wow. Okay. So I never knew that. Okay.
Yeah. And so during the time when the twins went missing, I'm not sure if um you know it was a somebody standing around, waiting for them. I don't know if the person that was in the van that was following them that we didn't see,
Uh,
it may be could have been a van following them. We don't know. You know what I'm
right.
saying? I just know what was told.
Right.
And
So
then
okay.
so sometime after that right there, um after we made it back home, because we walked there, we walked to the pump shop, and I'm saying, cause hello,
Yeah. I mean, I can hear you.
okay, cause somebody was calling my phone.
You all right? Good. Go
Anyway,
ahead.
I know, when we made it to the store, and after talking to the attendant, we walked back. As we was walking, I'm sorry. Why does they keep calling my phone? And I'm doing something. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It happens. It happens. It happens.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, I'm not sure what transpired when they went there. When we went, back home as we was going home, we looked in, like empty houses, like different um like open space, like with whole bunch of trees and stuff like that.
Hmm.
She was basically we was just looking, not knowing
Looking
if we
everywhere.
were gonna, yeah, find anything or whatever. So once we made it back home, she called the police because by then it was dark then, and they still hadn't came home. And when she called the police, they basically told her that she had to wait 24 hours before she reported them missing.
24 hours. That's insane to tell anybody that. Here you have two 15-year-olds, that are not known for just, but they're known just for going to school and coming home. But to say, I
Hmm.
mean, any kid, period, 24 hours.
Yep.
24 hours is one of the most crucial hour. Like that's the most crucial hour period around that time. 24. A lot can happen in 24 hours. So that's crazy. So after they say wait 24 hours, then how did it go after that?
Okay, so after the 24 hours was up, the next morning she calls them again. This time they sent someone out. Okay, the cop that came out, she gave them all the correct information, but for some miraculous reason, he wrote the information down wrong. He wrote their birthday down wrong. He wrote the spelling of their names down wrong. He wrote the name of the street that my goddad stayed on. He got that mixed up with it's a Florence and a Forest Street. My goddad stayed on Forest Street. He wrote down Florence Street.
Mm.
So um after he took all the information or whatever, he ends up giving it. I guess he ended up giving it to the investigator, but the investigator didn't come out until that next week. So the next day, which would have been the March the 19th, the regular police officer came out.
Okay.
Okay. The week after that is when the investigator came out. Okay, the investigator that came out, his name was Jim Ship. He tells my mom that he was gonna go look for the girls or whatever. He still put the information in wrong. They still had the information wrong. Their birthdays, spelling of their names. Um, what else? Yeah, basically that was it. And then after that date, we didn't hear from him again until maybe a month or so.
A month. Wow.
Okay, so after that month was up, I guess he called himself still looking for them or whatever, but you still didn't go to the people houses who you supposed to be. You didn't talk to the people that you should have been talking to. Basically, he didn't talk to my older sister, which they seen them the day they went missing. He
Right.
didn't talk to my cousin. He didn't talk to the attendant at the store. Basically, he didn't talk to nobody but my goddad. They did talk to him.
Hmm.
That's how we know that they really did make it to his house. After that, right there, um, a whole year had them passed, and he probably came to my mom's house like the end of 90. And I guess to check to see had they came home or whatever, because they still hadn't came home. But by the time April the 8th of 1991 comes, he basically came and knocked on my mom's door and told her that had he found them, that he could make them come back home because they had turned 17 years old. He also says that they had been found and he couldn't make them come back home. So it was two different things. Now I'm again like going ahead because in 2017, this is when we find this part out that he felt that they had been found. He said they had been found, but they still hadn't been found. And we know they hadn't been found. But if he said they had been found, you didn't get her address, you didn't tell her where, you didn't tell her who they were with. You ain't tell her none of that, but you're telling everybody else, like all the people who we're trying to contact to get to help us find them. You're telling them that they hadn't been found, but in actuality they hadn't.
So
So
he said they've been found and they were not found. And this was,
right,
he said this was year 2017 or
yeah, this is when we found out that he was still telling people that they had been found, but they was never found. So from 1991, I think he closed the case out April the 8th of 1991. So the case is closed, period.
for
Nobody's looking for them.
right. The case is closed for 22 years, right?
23.
23 years, right? Okay,
Yeah,
23
the
years and
case
then
is
it's open.
closed 23 years.
Okay.
So by the case being closed 23 years, you got that whole big old open gap where 2 decades and
Then
something has
pass.
done went by and nobody's looking for them based off of what the detective shift tells them. But you told us, had you found them, you couldn't make them come back home. 1993, we found out that he calls the National Missing and Explored Children and tells them to take my sister and them out of the database. He said they
Wow.
should have never been in there because they was nothing but some unruly runaways.
And this is Detective Ship, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Ship has a history of uh, labeling people as runaways because there was another little girl that went missing
Right.
from Augusta, Georgia. Listen to
Yes.
this, y'all. Detective Ship also said another young lady had ran away
And
from
she
Augusta,
was,
Georgia.
yeah, she was 9 years old. Her
She was
name was
9 years old, and
Tiffany
I,
Nelson. It took him 11 days to rule this little girl case as an abduction. And I heard this out of the sheriff's mouth. So I know it is true that he said this. But
right,
2005, the little girl went missing in 1994.
right.
2005, they found her body in a shallow grave off of Highway 56.
They sure did because I remember reading. I just can't think of her name at the time, but I remember
Tiffany
reading
Nelson.
Tiffany Nelson. So look that name up, Tiffany Nelson.
Yeah,
Detective Ship also labeled Tiffany Nelson, a 9-year-old at the time, as a
as a
runaway.
runaway.
But almost what? Almost 12 years later, she's found in a shallow grave.
Right.
This is why when I put in my description about the case, I said there lack of, because as y'all can see, y'all listening, this case was never investigated. It is still to this day it's not being really investigated, and it's a shame because it's been all these years, these investigators were able to go home with their family without a care in the world, and here you have
Oh, he said the reason why he can go home and he said he was glad that he could go home because he didn't have kids that he had to go home to kill. This is what he told the Fall Line podcast detective ship. He said because he didn't even know why they even put him on missing kids cases or missing people cases. And
mm,
I was like, wow, you
yeah,
know,
that's something to say to a family that's missing
it
kid, that's
is
missing.
something to say when you supposed to help the community, you know, and it's like it took me all that time I had been calling. To my this it's so much. I done told this story so many times, you know, it's like a movie to me. It's like I'm telling somebody else's life, but it's our life, you know what I
Right.
mean? And it's like it took y'all 23 years to open this case back up. This family still calling y'all all these years, and y'all still saying y'all can't help. The only reason why this case I think got opened back up is because the sheriff that was running at the time, he was wanting to get elected.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
And who
Because
was the sheriff
now
at the time?
his Richard Roundtree,
That's the one the sheriff now, right?
yes, he's the sheriff now.
Yeah, because
And
yeah, I
he
remember seeing
wasn't the
him.
sheriff when they first went missing, but
Okay.
when they opened the case back up in 2013, he was just being elected as sheriff. And I thought, because the sheriff that was in the seat at the time when they first went missing. It was a Caucasian guy. I was like, well, maybe, that he's a black guy. Maybe he want to help more than,
Right.
you know, this me thinking. I could be wrong, I don't know. But I was like, hey, let me try. I just happened to see him on the news and he was saying that he wanted to help the community, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, this is a good time right here for me to call. So I calls down there and sure enough, they end up calling me back. They didn't answer the first time. And Sheriff Rancher was the one that I talked to. I talked to the person that he was running against. And he's the one that called me back and said they was going to open the case back up because they didn't like how the case was closed. They closed the case off of hearsay. Basically, somebody said they seen them. He closed the case and left it as that. 1993, you caused NICMIC, which is the National Mission and Explored Children, tell them to take them out of the database. So 20-something years goes by. Nobody knew. Like anything could have happened between March the 18th and 2013. They opened the case back up in September, I believe. Anything could have happened. Anything. They could have still been alive. We don't know. I mean, they could still be alive to this day. We just don't know what happened to them. You know what I mean? And I think if they had did something then or got somebody else different, if they see that the family was still calling saying these girls out there, why not try to help? You think we calling for our help? We weren't calling for our help. We weren't just calling down there to say they was still missing if they wasn't.
Right.
I still don't get it to this day. I might have was been young back then, but I still know I had two siblings, and I ain't seen them since I was 12 and they was 15, and I'm 46 years old right now, and they 50? They just turned 50 this year.
Yeah, I seen the birthday celebration that you did for them.
I just hate it. I just hate the whole thing. I hate the whole thing even happened. I don't even know what else to do no more. I done been on so many platforms. I done been on the news. I done did everything that I could think of that you could do. You know,
Yeah, I
but
always think
I'm
about
not a police officer.
right. You can't investigate.
Yeah, I can't. Just go out here and it be knocking on folks' doors. You know what I'm saying? I was young back then. Had I been the age I am now back then, I probably could have did all that stuff. But I was a little girl, when they first went missing. But I still remember them. I still remember everything about them. I still remember what they had on the day they walked out my mama's door.
Right. How is your mom doing?
She doing okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Because I know
She
we
think
always think
about
about
them
these
every day.
cases. Yeah, we always think about these cases, and for me, I always think about the parents, because I know it takes a toll on them.
Yeah, they didn't even put out, he had, when I was calling down there, I don't know where the information even came from or what made them even think that, but they was telling me when I called down there to ask, for them to help, they basically was saying that my mom kids had got taken away from her. Okay. Now, mind you, it was my older sister, it's the twins, then me, then my sister Jacqueline. Then I got a sister named Jessica, a sister named Tiffany, and a sister named Cicely. It's 8 girls, 8 of us.
Uh-huh.
Why would they take 2 and leave the rest of them?
Yes, because if they're gonna take them, they take them all.
Yeah, that part didn't make sense to me. But that's what they told me. You need to be talking to your mom because your sister, that's what they said, your sister now had been taken away from your mom. I said, that didn't make no sense. I said, how can y'all take 2 and not take the rest? And I was like, somebody lying. He gonna tell me he appreciate me saying his officers was liars.
Well,
I
they
said,
were.
well, I don't appreciate you trying to say my mama a liar. And I lived that. I know if they had if the defects had took my mom kids or not. They had me calling the adoption agency and everything, which I already knew, you know, but I just did it just on the screen just to get that part of the investigation that I was doing myself out the way. So
Right.
they had no recollection of none of my mom kids being taken away from her.
Basically a wild goose
So
chase, basically.
yeah, basically that's what it was. Then 1996, I happened to be sitting down looking at TV. I was looking at the news. I always look at the news ever since they had been missing. I read the newspaper, you know, all kind of newspapers. Anything that I could think that they would put an article in about somebody missing or somebody murdered or they found the body here or whatever. I try to read and I try to stay up on everything. I just be happen to be sitting down looking at the news. They had an image of a female that had been missing. I guess she had been missing for a while or whatever, and they ended up finding her, the female's body in South Carolina. The image looked like one of the twins.
I was just looking at the image before we went live, too.
So I called again, and I get shut down. They told me off rip, no, it's not her. I said, okay, left it like that. So 2017 comes, I meet Laura and Brooke of the Fall Line podcast. Okay, I tell you them the same story. They ends up calling to the Aiken County Sheriffs and they end up talking to the Aiken Coroner. So when unknown to me, the person that I saw in 1996 still hadn't been identified.
Wow. So all these years. So 11 years. Okay,
Uh,
now it's 11
yeah,
years. Now
yeah,
11 years behind this point. Okay.
exactly. So I was like, wow, they still don't know who. So, I was like, maybe it is one of them. You know what I'm saying? So it took a long time for us to get them to do the DNA comparison to the person. But I think in 2020, from listen to what I'm telling you now, from
Okay.
2013, I mean from 1996 all the way up until 2020. That's how long it took for us to find out for them to do the DNA because they just had got DNA from my mom in 2013. So any Jane Does that was going from 1990 all the way up, they wouldn't be able to compare it to nothing because they still hadn't got my mom DNA, my older sister DNA. They hadn't got that until 2013. So what
Wow.
if it was a Jane Doe out here that was them? And I just found this out today that any Jane Does that was going around back then, they probably don't even have anything in the database that they could compare to my mom, but they finally did it for that Jane Doe that they had in Aiken, South Carolina. They told us that it wasn't now one of them, but I think they only did the DNA comparison. Well, I guess if they'd used my mom DNA,
Mm.
I guess that's how they would determine that it was neither twin. But I swear to you, if you look at it and you look at her, it looks just like her.
I saw that, and I remember you told me that they should have tested both twins because they're not
Yeah,
identical. They're fraternal twins, so they
exactly.
may have two different blood types.
Exactly. So I don't know.
That's a whole like question and answer by itself too. Because say if they did the DNA on both girls, you feel me? And it
Right.
like you said, cause I looked at it and looking at Jeanette's picture
Yeah.
and looking at the Jane Doe. This picture right here, y'all. This Jane Doe that they found in South Carolina looks exactly. You would think that it was her sister. So I think they should retest that too.
I
Okay.
really do too. I was just talking about it today.
Right.
I was talking about it today because it just something in me just because like it's 34 years and y'all ain't found nothing,
Nothing.
no bodies, no nothing, no clothes, something. that could tell us, you know, what happened to them. It's just like they vanished into thin air, and we know that's not possible.
And where does the investigation stand now? Like, are they actually investigating the case?
I have no clue.
Because it just doesn't seem like it. You know, you like you said, you hear
Yeah,
updates
because
or
they don't
something.
call us, they
You have
don't
not heard
contact
anything.
us. No, none of that. That's why I was talking to someone today, and I was like, "Well, I'm just gonna call down there because they finna do a new sheriff